Hey, whoa, yo, everybody. This is Dominic DeAngelo of the website SEScoops.com. And actually, hey, this is actually my first show I've ever done on this website. I was a special guest to Tyler Sage a few weeks ago during Halloween. I was dressed up as Luigi, who happens to be a brother. I am a brother. And hey, I have my brother here with me to talk about some brothers. Brother Marcus, what's up?
Oh man, I just got lost in all that. No wonder they didn't welcome me back though. You're showing up dressed as Luigi. There's a professional setting.
And I'm a journalist, and Tyler was
Can I
dressed up as
swear
a
on
hot
this?
dog, so we were fine. Well, Marcus, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? Hmm?
Well, I work for adfreeshows.com as both a producer and a host. I host the Snake Pit with Jake Roberts on there. I also have the Hacksaw Hour with Hacksaw Jim Duggan, which is an Ad Free Shows exclusive show, which I host. I produce My World. I help out with social media across some of the shows. And on Premier Streaming Network, I host a podcast with the Million Dollar Man, Ted DiBiase, called Everybody's Got a Pod. So I'm a pretty busy beaver, Dominic.
Yeah. Hey, why don't you take a little quick detour here and who actually got you into the business, Marcus?
I did hard work, perseverance.
Oh, okay.
No, Dominic actually opened the door for me due to his connections in wrestling journalism, and then I lapped him professionally. I've reached a much
Maybe a
higher
couple
level.
times. Maybe a couple.
No, it's I owe it all to Dominic. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today without him. I think it's a good segue into discussing this movie and how this brotherly bond between the Von Erichs.
Yes. Yes, Marcus and I were fortunate enough to go see an advanced screening of The Iron Claw, starring Zac Efron, Jeremy Allen White, Holt McElhaney, and numerous others. MJF makes a very little cameo,
Very little.
very little. But there's plenty to take away from. Marcus, I guess we'll start off with this. What were your initial expectations going to see the film, and then how did you feel leaving it?
I knew that there was not going to be a ton of wrestling going into it. I figured it was mostly just going to be story and the drama and certainly the tragic circumstances surrounding the family. So I knew that going into it. Leaving the movie, it was like I mean, it's a downer. They tried to give you like a little without giving any spoilers. They kind of give you like a little pickup there at the end. So it's like, oh, okay, not all just doom and gloom here at the end of it, but yeah, leaving it, it was, and we'll get into this. I, I enjoyed the movie. It's not a bad movie at all. I just saw another review today that said it's the best wrestling movie ever made, and I was like, I don't know about that. It was good. It was very good, but I think that there were some glaring omissions. There was some weird timeline stuff going on, and there was also, a very clearly spun narrative.
So, will you say that those glaring omissions and the changing of timelines affected your enjoyment of the film?
No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, it's like I think if you're like a huge WCCW fan that grew up watching it and stuff, it might bug you to see some like the weird timeline things that are happening. So no, it didn't necessarily impact how much I enjoyed the film. However, it's like it was there, and having that present was certainly something that I take into consideration as I'm reviewing.
Yeah, I will say too, me going into it, I kind of had basically a lot of the same expectations when it comes to like, man, this is going to be a heavy thing to watch. Like knowing their story, knowing what happened to the brothers, uh, and ultimately, like if you follow Kevin and his sons today, Marshall and Ross, you know that it does have a happy ending. Where they're, he had to literally get away from the business to kind of readjust himself to life and his family to life. But yeah, you definitely had those expectations. Uh, I liked how they kind of introduced the film and almost Marcus, you're a fan of this movie, but I got very Raging Bull vibes from the start of the film. Where they're setting up Von Erich and kind of his heelish legacy, and then they transition it to future times. I thought it was a pretty good setup, and yeah, the way I left the movie overall very heavy. I think it's and we talked about this on the car ride home, like that, if you have brothers or a family, I think it adds another element of like, whoa, like it hits you on a different tone. Not only because you're getting your fix as a wrestling fan in certain regards, but then on top of it, there's that added family stuff that makes you kind of take pause to your own life, and you feel fortunate or you feel empathetic or sympathetic to others that maybe have gone through similar issues with their own family. So really put a lot of things in perspective. Hey, speaking of Luigi, that's my text line.
Super unprofessional. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. But we yeah, I came away with the film with the same feeling as you. Um I did ask others, Sean Blanchard, who's a KSWA local wrestler in the Pittsburgh area, who was there in attendance. He's a big world class championship wrestling fan, and I asked him outright, did the omissions and that stuff kind of affect your viewing enjoyment of it? And he said no, it didn't. So
Oh,
he
okay.
liked it. He liked it. Um, Now, as a casual viewer, Marcus, say if you're a non-wrestling fan, it's kind of hard to put that hat on or take that hat off. But how would you feel like being a regular moviegoer? Do you think that the film connected with the non-wrestling fan?
Yes, I think if you're a non-wrestling fan, I think that you'll connect with the film. You know, it's something that that whenever it comes out on streaming, that I plan to rent and watch with my wife because my wife not a wrestling fan at all, but I think it's something that she could appreciate because of the messages that we got to see throughout it. And you know, like she knows enough about wrestling that like I think some like the Easter egg type moments that are in there will be like, oh, cool, like I've heard that name before. Oh, sweet, you know, Ric Flair's in this.
What did the movie leave you wanting more of?
Um, well, I guess some of the drug use issues, where we got like a look at it, but you know, I think that it could have been reflected more, where it's you know we come to realize like you know that these guys, yep, so the tragic circumstances happened to these guys, and a lot of it was out of their control. But you know, there was also a lot of stuff that was you know maybe self inflicted due to drug use or substance use or you know behavioral stuff when you're like a young man who's famous and you're in this territory where everybody knows you and loves you. You know it'll change the way that you behave as a human being, and so I think I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that.
Yeah, I agree, and I think too. I wrote this in the review. That's also the companion piece to this video. But I feel like the movie was just so heavy the majority of the time. There was some lighthearted moments and some kind of funny moments, but and not to glorify the wild side of wrestling where it's like the drug use and substance abuse and all that stuff. But I do feel like the movie could have taken some moments to kind of lighten the mood in certain regards to like being those good old Texas country boys that partied and kind of sometimes unreliable or sometimes, anything like that, where like the eroticism did play a factor, but it also was part of that wrestling lifestyle, like back and these kids that are pretty naive to that hardship of the world a little bit too. I think they could have embraced that a little bit more to kind of ease the tone a little bit throughout the movie and kind of set gave a better impression of like, hey, this pro wrestling business was crazy and a lot of tragedy here, but there's still like it's a wild business and that's why a lot of fans appreciate it is like how crazy it can be. And like Ric Flair kind of had a little bit of that, but not that much in the film either.
I think that's well put, Dom, because it's not like I'm like, "Oh, geez, I wish I could see them using drugs more." Like, that's not what it's about. What it's about is, like, the lifestyle of professional wrestling, especially in the '80s, where it's like, you know, look, using whatever, somas or Placidils and drinking and cocaine and crazy experiences with, you know, with women,
Mhm.
you know, it was part of the business, and so it's like, I think I would have liked to have seen a bit more of that.
Who were some standout performances for you?
Well, the guy who plays, and I should know his name, but it's escaping me right now. But the guy who plays Kerry Von Erich, really like his.
Jeremy Allen White.
Yes, Jeremy Allen White. I've been a fan of his acting for years, you know, because he was in that show Shameless. Now he's got The Bear. So like really, really great actor and a guy. I told you this during the movie. A guy who it was like probably about 2 years ago. I saw him in whatever I was watching. I was like, you know, that guy would be great at playing the Dynamite Kid. And then lo and behold, he gets cast as Kerry Von Erich.
How about that? Oh, so I didn't make that connection that you thought about him before this movie,
Oh,
like,
yeah, it was probably, like, 2 years ago. I think I was watching him on Shameless, and he was starting to pack on some muscle. I was like, "Man, like, he kinda looks like dynamite."
how about that? How about
Yeah.
that? Yeah, no, he was a very good. I wrote in the review too that I think he it almost felt like I wanted more Carrie in the movie, right? Did you feel that way? Like it was just like he was there and but like he felt like such a big aspect of the Von Erich family that like I wanted more of him.
Yeah, and, like, one thing that I wish I could have seen more of was, and I don't think this counts as a spoiler, but, Carrie loses his leg in a motorcycle accident or, his foot in a motorcycle accident, and he's struggling to reclaim what his former physicality in the ring, and so we went from, like, seeing him struggling to all of a sudden I don't know what kind of a flash forward this was, but then it was like he was in the WWF, and it's like, "Okay, what happened in between?" Like, you don't just get to the WWF, like, where was the rest of that story?
That's a good point. No, that was something that like yeah, they didn't address it. I mean, not that they had to go full Rocky mode where it's like, hey, here's a montage of a comeback or anything like that. But you'd want to see like, this determination of trying to get better and stuff. Because I mean, wrestling with one leg is pretty impressive, and the way he did it, it's pretty impressive.
Very impressive.
To mask it and all that stuff. That shows like just the pure natural athlete that he was. And so, yeah, no, he was very stand out to me. And I talked about this too, Marcus, with you is David Von Erich, the guy who played David Von Erich.
Yes,
I
very
wrote
good.
very good. It made me reappreciate the small work we got to see of David Von Erich in World Class, and I thought he really exemplified the core um, love of the family. Almost, I think that really got that character got the point across. And then in the same turn, I thought the individual who played Mike Von Erich, I think his
Yes.
name is Stanley Simons, he was the catalyst for almost it felt like the heartbreak of it all. Like he was the guy the son that didn't necessarily want to wrestle was forced into it. Um, Seriously, like they kind of almost delineated a point where his ability to do camera work or his desire, his passion to do camera work, plus music and the incorporation of how music influenced the Von Erichs, like you could see his value outside of the ring instead of like inside of the ring. And I thought he brought a lot of heartbreaking subtleties to his role. So I thought he did a very good job.
Yes, I mean, the post-coma
Oh
version
my god.
of him was, like it was tough to watch. It was really tough to watch.
Yes, very much so. Um, I can't escape without saying how much I love Holt McElhaney as Fritz von Erich. I loved him since the FX series Lights Out, an old boxing series. If you guys are able to check that out, I highly recommend it. It only lasted one season, but he
It
was
was good.
amazing. He
It
was
was good.
amazing in that. And so it was pretty cool to see him kind of reprise a physical role such as this one. And I thought he did a very good job. I would have loved to see more of the delusion of Fritz von Erich, where he went like just the ruthlessness of like his desire to excel in the business and almost how he they showed him kind of you know putting the business first before his family in a lot of ways, but I would have loved to see that more like for example like the little cameo we got of MJF, not a whole lot addressed in the situations and the storylines that Fritz really took advantage of, I guess, during the time period.
Yeah, we didn't I feel like we did not get to see a ton of that. They did a pretty good job of painting the picture of Fritz, at least, Kevin's perception of Fritz, here at this time, and a lot of that could be tough to watch at times too. But, another guy that really stood out, and you and I talked about it, was the guy who played Harley Race. He looked like him. He sounded pretty much like him. It was really good casting.
It was very well done casting, and like I liked the gritty like promos that they did for both him and Flair, and kind of the setup of that. Um, yeah, I liked the way he portrayed him, and like he had kind of that. It made me appreciate Harley Race again too. I think that's a good aspect of this film is like when you do see these wrestlers, sometimes like you'll notice some glaring issues. Like Bruiser Brody's not that tall, like in the
Mhm.
movie, and he was a massive man. So like the guy looks like him, but there was also you don't get a lot of dialogue with these other wrestlers and the supporting cast of these characters that a lot of fans are familiar with. But I do think that you know what you get to see kind of makes you be like, oh man, I love wrestling. I think it kind of has that kind of balance of it all.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen more of the Freebirds. I would have liked to have seen more of Gino Hernandez in there because, certainly a huge, huge part of the WCCW territory. So yeah, I mean, but look, we keep saying like, I wish I could have had more of this or seen more of that. It's like there is a limited runtime on these movies. This isn't some 4 hour epic like Lord of the Rings. So it's like you've gotta just kind of take what you can.
Absolutely. As far as the family dynamic and that aspect of the film, uh, how did that hit with you?
That was tough to watch at times, especially yeah, like now that I'm getting older, I'm starting to see things not just from the brotherly perspective, but also from like the parent perspective, where like just imagining losing a child at any age, it's like this hopeless, awful, like and by the way, the woman who played the mother, Mrs. Von Erich, very good job of capturing that in those moments when she's like getting ready to go to funerals. It's like, yeah, I mean, that would just be the most dismal feeling ever in the history of the world. So it's that kind of stuff certainly hit me hard.
What do you think overall is the big takeaway from the movie when it comes to like? Let me put it this way, Mark. So we talked about it last. Our immediate thoughts. We gave our immediate thoughts. Does almost near a day escape from it give you a different perspective on what you feel about the film?
Yeah, walking out of the theater, I was really focused on like kind of the omissions and the things that were missing. After kind of like sleeping on it and thinking about it today, and then you told me that we were going to be doing this, so now I'm like kind of reconsidering everything. It's like, look, there were omissions, yes, and there was some stuff that I wish could have been added. The more I logically think about it, the more I'm like, well, there are run times, and you've got to deal with the studio and producers and all this kind of shit. So like the more I take into consideration, I'm like, maybe they did exactly the best that they could have possibly done with this movie, and uh, could it have been better? Sure, sure, but it's generally speaking a very very good movie.
Yeah, I think the greatest omission, obviously, is the absence of Chris Von Erich, the youngest son of the Von Erichs, who did commit suicide at the age of 21 and stuff like that. And he was the smallest of them all and had bone issues and things like that, very brittle and stuff, and could not compete in the ring. And so it was another added tragedy that went along with it. So that I think that was probably the film's greatest omission. Um, but well, I guess we'll close out with this, Mark. Um, what are some like standout, like mark out moments, quote unquote, for you that like you really appreciated in the movie
Um,
without spoiling anything too much?
Yeah, well, it's mine's a pretty easy one, and I don't know if it counts as a spoiler or not, but Jerry Jarrett buys the territory from the Von Erichs, and you and I had the pleasure of being around Mr. Jarrett before he
Mhm.
passed away, and I was not expecting to see somebody portray him in the movie, but somebody did, and it was just seeing it like that was like, oh man, awesome, like it's Jerry Jarrett. So that was one of my kind of mark out moments. I'm coming to really love and respect the work of Gino Hernandez. So cool to see somebody portray him on screen.
And that was Dolph Ziggler's brother, nonetheless, too.
Yes.
Yeah, Ryan Namath. So pretty
Yeah.
cool, pretty
Really
cool.
cool.
Far as me, marked out pretty good for Harley, I thought, and then I really loved the Not that so you missed this because you ran to the bathroom, but the introduction of Kerry Von Erich was pretty cool because they made you wait for him. Like he did, like you met all the other brothers, and you're all the viewers all kind of thinking like, "Hey, where's Kerry at? Come on!" Obviously, he was in the Olympics and stuff like that, and they kind of set that tone. But it's like, when is he showing up? And then he shows up, and it's pretty cool. But I think the coolest aspect was like him working out in their garage, and then Rush Tom Sawyer starts playing, and then you get pretty sweet montage of like the Von Erich brothers and everything like that. So that encompassed a pretty fun side of world class. I appreciate Bill Mercer too. So him getting a good amount of screen time, that actor and stuff was pretty cool too. I will say.
Man, I like that actor from Orange is the New Black as well. So it was cool to see him in there.
There's a fun for you guys that are going to see it too. There's a fun promo scene that happens between David and
Yeah,
Kevin Von Erich, that was pretty good too.
yeah, it was fun.
Zac Efron, I guess we didn't talk about him too much. Uh, he did a good job, you know.
Oh yeah, no,
Mhm.
he I'm very good at capturing, kind of like the raw emotion that was happening, and essentially the fear of this perceived family curse, where it's he found himself sleeping at the sportatorium so he could stay away from his family to avoid cursing them. In a nutshell, it was cool. He did a really good job. It's you look at him and he doesn't really look like Kevin Von Erich, so like as you're watching the previews and stuff, it's just like, I don't know. I don't know if this was the right call. Now that I've seen the movie, I'm like, okay, yeah, he did a great job.
Yeah, he really did, and it was like he set the tone for like the familial aspect of it all. I think too, where it's just like something that um
The amount of
he was
value that they placed on family, yeah, he
yeah.
he he established it.
And Kevin maybe was a little more wild than what was portrayed with by Zac Efron, more akin to maybe Carrie. But I think that for the moviegoer and the story of the Von Erichs, you kind of wanted to exude that a little bit more. And so uh, Zac Efron was the proponent of that in the film. So pretty
He did a
cool.
great job. Yeah, I regret that we took this long to mention Zac Efron's performance. He did a
Right,
really
right.
nice job. Yeah,
The lead character we kind of
yeah.
forgot. Any closing thoughts, Mark?
I would recommend that you see the movie. I feel like you and I we're here like, yeah, it's pretty good, but like if you're a wrestling fan or just a fan of a good drama, I think it's a movie that you're going to enjoy. Yeah, it's like I think that so the super fans are going to be able to pick apart a lot of things, but if you just allow yourself to take it in and take in the story and just take it for what it is, which is a movie adaptation of a true story, then I think that you're going to enjoy yourself.
I agree, Mark. Good thoughts. Um, so plug some stuff, brother. More so, like, how do they follow you? What exactly would you want these SE Scoop listeners and readers to take away from? My cat almost shit his butt on me.
It was a ghost in your apartment.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, you can follow me at Marcus P. D'Angelo on X. That's probably my primary social thing. You can find me on Facebook too, but really, like, I don't get on there often enough. So if you want to like communicate with me or send me a message or ask me a question or a suggestion for the shows that I do or whatever, I would recommend you follow me on X at Marcus P. D'Angelo, and my DMs are open, so feel free to reach out anytime.
Awesome.
Um,
Oh, go ahead. Keep going.
oh, gee, oh wow, was that it? Were you cutting me off?
I was
Is that it?
gonna scoop your heat, but go ahead.
No, I was basically done. I was just gonna say, yeah, please check out my podcast, follow the social media of the guys that I work with because it's awesome, and yeah, it's I'd love to hear any suggestions or recommendations on stories that you want to hear from Jake or Ted or Jim Duggan, because it's interesting getting to pick these guys' brains once a week.
Yeah, pretty fascinating stuff. Marcus does his research more so than a lot of like he's smooth host. I'm not just putting him over because he's my brother and we're talking about brothers, but he's very good at what he does. So my cat is currently
I'll
over
tell you what,
acting.
my cat is never in front of my screen when I'm recording, so you got to give me that.
Say, oh yeah, that's true too. Yeah. I'm if you get to see us more often on screen together, you'll get to know Marcus is a little bit more put together than I am. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Dominic DeAngelo. Follow SE Scoops at SE Scoops. Go to SEscoops.com for all your news and stuff. We have a great staff there. A lot of fun. I love working here there. I've only been here for a couple months now, but I love it. And I'm a co-host of the One of a Kind podcast with Rob Van Dam. So we do live recordings. Actually, if you happen to see this at some certain point, where we're actually recording tonight. We do it every Thursday at 9 p.m. We try to do. So join on to Rob's YouTube channel. Check it out. Ask a question to Rob. We have a lot of fun on there. So do that. And yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, Mark, dude, reunited. It feels so good, man. We haven't been on screen together in what, over a year? Well over a year, probably.
Yeah, it's been a while. So yeah, interesting to get back in here and join you on this, Dominic. I appreciate the invite, and I appreciate all the SE Scoops readers and listeners for checking it out. And yeah, again, go and check out the Iron Claw whenever it's out in theaters. I don't think you're gonna walk away disappointed.
Right, and it's people. You'll take. It's a very very good movie. It'll hit you. It'll hit you, but you'll appreciate your wrestling fandom and family as well. So give my review a read too, my written review on SEScoops.com along with this video. So hey guys, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time I do something like this or a show or whatever on SEScoops.com. Marcus, thanks again.
You bet. Thanks, guys.